how do you get the goal? I have to make movement. I have to take action. And when I'm not clear, I can't do that. When I'm not clear, I'm confused. When I'm not clear, I can't be convicted. So you go from confusion to clarity to conviction. And when I'm convicted in what I'm moving, I don't hesitate. I don't procrastinate.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's edition of the Getting the Win Show. I am your host, Melissa Thomas, with a very special guest in the house. This is Raymond Jones. You guys heard me mention him by name last episode. He is one half of the Road to Results podcast. If you're not tuning into them, be sure to subscribe. Road, the number 2 Results podcast on Facebook as well as YouTube. But Ray, thank you so much for taking the time. Let me start there.
Appreciate you. Absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here. Yeah, I'm excited.
Awesome. So as you know, we're always providing tips and strategies for those who struggle with procrastination. Now, for the record, Ray is somebody that does not have that problem. Like, that is not his struggle. But I brought him on the show because I wanted to share tips from him in terms of how to avoid procrastination altogether. Because there may be some things that he does to set up that sense of urgency. You guys heard me talk about establishing that sense of urgency to get things done faster. So Ray, just kind of talk about what your strategies are on a day-to-day, because you are very busy. You have a very full plate on a regular basis. How do you get things done?
Yeah, well, one of the things that's what typically causes people to procrastinate is like sometimes you don't even know why you need to make the decision. Mm-hmm. And we talk about it probably over and over again in the mastermind. It's that clarity. Yeah. And before you hopped on our podcast, Melissa blessed us on our podcast earlier, but we were talking with Cedric and we were talking about, he just muddiness. Like when you're not clear, you're confused. And when you're confused, you don't necessarily know why you need to make a decision or what decision you're even making. And sometimes that's what causes hesitation. Like, do I need to move this way? Do I need to move this way? I don't know. So sometimes we just sit still. So the biggest piece is being clear on why you need to make the decision and take action versus hesitating and procrastinating. Because when you are clear on taking action, there's a sense of urgency. So one, we talked about SMART goals, and we're not trying to be, a lot of times it's like we don't even need to reinvent the wheel. Okay, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. Having deadlines specifically for ATCs, for air traffic controllers, people that are very analytical, having a deadline and sticking to that deadline. But for those that are analytical, having the data as to why you need to have that deadline. And it's when you're clear, you know what direction you're heading, knowing why you're heading that direction, and then you know by when this needs to be done, that internal clock puts that pressure on you. True. For me, I don't struggle with the data, but I still need to make sure that I'm making decisions that are moving me or moving the needle in the direction of where I want to go. So if the decision doesn't feed what I want, so we have to be clear on what we want. That's the very first thing. That's the very first thing. We have to be clear on what we want. That allows you to discern or decide between what does serve you and what does not. And if it does not move the needle to the direction where you want to go, it's obviously a distraction, and I don't even need to entertain it. So it's no longer a juggle between whether I do need to make a decision, whether I don't, why, when, how. This is what's going to move me in that direction. If I know what I want and I'm very clear on what I want, I know I need to make the decision. The data behind that is I'm not going to get what I want without making this decision. The decision is a data point entry to get us to the results that we want. So when you understand that and stop putting the pressure on yourself to be like, well, if I don't do this, this is going to happen. If I do this, this is going to happen. So let me think and let me collect more. The idea is that if I take this step and I do this thing, it's going to get me to what I want. It's going to get me the result. It's going to get me the goal. It's what goal getting versus goal setting. Like, how do you get the goal? I have to make movement. I have to take action. And when I'm not clear, I can't do that. When I'm not clear, I'm confused. When I'm not clear, I can't be convicted. So you go from confusion to clarity to conviction. And when I'm convicted in what I'm moving, I don't hesitate. I don't procrastinate. Because if I don't do it, a data point entry, it's never going to happen. A data point entry. If it is going to happen, I have to do it, which means I have to take action, which means I can't procrastinate. The more I procrastinate, the longer and longer it's going to take to get done, or it's just never going to get done. And we just go back to what we said today. That's essentially quitting on yourself. Right. So, a lot of words to say, be clear. If you're confused, have a conversation with somebody to get clarity. If you can't set your time frames up. We talk about people or principles. If I'm not the person to set a deadline, sis, I need to get this done. When do you want to have it done? I don't know, maybe fall, maybe winter. No, when do you want, fall or winter?
Pick one.
Pick one. Winter, okay, when? We've got October, November, December. I mean, October could be fall, could be winter, depending on where you're at. Let's say November, December, January. When?
Pick one.
Holidays. December's Christmas, then you got New Year's, and then everybody's New Year's resolution. So probably before Christmas. Okay, December 15th sounds like a good time, right? Yes? Yes? Yes or yes? Yes. Okay, that's your deadline. And we talk about, with Carl.
Yes.
The conference. I literally sat at his house and I was like, pick a date. He's like, well, pick a date. I need to pick a date. Gave me a date. And then commit to it.
Yep.
Because then there's a whole different set of things that need to come to move in the direction of getting that goal completed and achieved. And the more you do it, the more you make decisions, and that's what it all comes down to. The more you make decisions, the more confident you become. You go from confused to clear. Well, add that one in there, confident. And once you become confident, you're convicted in your ability to make decisions, no longer procrastinate. So
awesome.
It's easy, but it's also, it's repetitions. Give yourself some grace. Give yourself some grace. It takes time, and if you're not the person immediately, get in community with people who are going to help you.
Yes. Very important. So, speaking of getting into community, like I said, be sure to join their Facebook group, the Road to the Number 2 Results Podcast. And before I let you go, I also do want to give you the chance to promote the business. This is Ray's business, Breaking Formation. Like, let them know, what Breaking Formation is all about and how you help folks.
Yeah, so Breaking Formation is a coaching consulting company, and we just started talking about getting clear on that kind of stuff. But it's a coaching consulting company. I was in the military for 20 years, so when we stand in the little people square, we're all together in our little community, that's a formation. But I needed to step away from people that were of that mind because I wanted to be in a different space. So I use real estate as a tool.
Yes.
So I help people who want to break away from whatever their formation is, the corporate world, working a traditional 9-to-5, and to help them become the right person, develop personally, but consult them in getting started in real estate to use that as a tool to live the life that you want to live. So on the back of my shirt it says, what's your exit strategy? Whatever it is that you're doing, whatever job that you have, if you're doing something, you're working in an entrepreneur business and you're like, the grind is there, but I just don't know how long this is going to last. I don't know if I have that endurance. Anything we do, what's your exit strategy? How are you getting out of that and into the thing that you know that God put you on this earth to do, the purpose that you want to fulfill? So breakinformation.com. That's that. But before we leave, I want to ask, what is it that you actually struggle with when it comes to procrastination? Like, what is that thing that gets you to hesitate when you know you should not be?
Take that next step.
Yeah.
So for me, usually it's clarity. So I am somebody that will overanalyze.
Okay.
So, and you guys, continue to subscribe because I do have ways to get past the analysis paralysis. I know how that feels. But, usually the key for me is to get with someone like you who is a needle mover, someone who has flexed the decision-making muscle a lot more often. Because that is for us who are recovering procrastinators, it's simply a muscle we don't flex as often. So it just comes down to finding someone who already flexes that muscle very often. Just as he described, like pick a date. You know what I mean? Like they'll just continue to present you with the question until you answer it, whatever that thing is that you're sitting on. They'll present you with the question until you answer it, and then the deadline. You set the deadline. That's the key.
I love it. And I just want to give as much value as you've given me continuously. I just want to give your audience, and I'm part of the audience, so hey, what she said, I love that analogy when you say flex that decision-making muscle. Understand, again, give yourself grace. Clarity is always going to be a thing. It's not like I got clear once and it'll never need to happen again. Flexing that muscle requires you to do it over and over and over again. And if it's chest day and I just do chest all day, my legs are going to be weak. I'm not going to have that endurance and that strength. There's other muscles. I've had to recently stretch and work on my muscles of slowing down.
Yes.
Of slowing down. And it's literally something I had to make a decision. And if I kept procrastinating, I then overwhelmed myself with everything I've decided to do.
Exactly.
So it's not just procrastinating, but sometimes those of us that are actively doing things. Sometimes we can end up doing so much because we're making so many decisions that before we know it, we're overwhelmed. So it's on both sides. So give yourself grace and understand that it's going to take reps. It's going to take time. You're going to get sore. You're going to get tired, but then you're going to get stronger. So make decisions, smaller ones. And then when you've done that, add weight. Add more, and you're going to continue to grow. Give yourself the grace, but don't give yourself the excuse to not do it. So.
Well said. On that note, thank you so much, Ray. Always a pleasure talking to you.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I'm just excited, yeah. I'm excited where this is going.
Absolutely. So, guys, if you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe, youtube.com/@gettingthewin. Follow us on Instagram @gettingthewin show. Follow these guys, Road the #2 Results Podcast on both YouTube and Facebook. And for Ray's consulting specifically, if you're transitioning, you got an exit strategy or you want to create an exit strategy, breakingformation.com. But in the meantime, thank you guys so much. I will see you next week.